everyone. I'm Aaron Fulmer, as Lisa mentioned, head of product. So it's a pleasure to welcome you to the Fireside Chat. We're going to talk about moving data to action in real time. And so today we'll dive into how to leverage partnerships and technology to close the latency gap in optimization and enabling personalized patient connections and driving impactful real-world health outcomes. Joining me today is Bob Whiting, head of digital media partnerships at IQVIA. Bob and IQVIA are DeepIntent's valued partner and experts in connecting clinical data to digital media. Bob has extensive experience in leading collaborations that blend the data integrity, transparency, and technical innovation. So Bob, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's begin with the basics and talk a little bit about just like the fundamentals of the partnership, especially in the context of solving the latency challenge.
So first of all, I want to say that I really enjoy events like today because everybody in this room has the same kind of goal in mind, right? How are we going to improve patient outcomes using really great advertising? So excited to be not only here with DeepIntent, but with kind of everybody that's in the room. IQVIA Digital was technically founded about 5 years ago and then rebranded about 6 months ago with our goal of looking into IQVIA, it's been around for a little while in the pharmaceutical space, looking into IQVIA and saying, what resources and assets can we bring into digital advertising, again, to make advertising better? One of those is our claims data. And so we have been partnered, as many people know, with DeepIntent for many years. I first met Chris before DeepIntent was DeepIntent. And we regularly conduct what I'll call kind of innovation summits. Chris said this earlier today in his opening remarks, right? In one summit, he was like, hey, we want to make everything, we want to speed everything up. We want to get faster in our decisioning, faster in our products. And then he uses those two key words. What if, right? What if we were able to bring IQVIA data, the claims data, the same data set that you're using with pharmaceutical companies, what if we were to bring that into the DeepIntent platform to help with planning, to help with execution, to help with decisioning and optimization, et cetera? So that kind of brings us, I went back a little bit to bring us forward, but that's kind of where we are today and excited to bring that data set to this partnership.
Yeah, and obviously we're very excited and trying to get in market and talking about the real-time optimization and everything that's happening there. But as you mentioned, you guys have been doing this for a period of time already, right?
Right.
You guys have been, collecting claims data. So what's the difference? What makes this like a first-to-market opportunity for IQVIA and DeepIntent?
Yeah. So this has been kind of tested in market a little bit, right? Some of the DeepIntent folks have been out talking with many of you here in the room, and some of the questions have been like, "Hey, is this brand new?" Right? And Aaron and I were talking about it earlier. The answer is yes and no. So IQVIA's being in the healthcare data business and offering claims data, that's not new. We've been doing that for decades, and our primary customer over these decades being the pharmaceutical companies, okay? So that's not new. We've been doing that for decades. We do that extremely well. What is new, as Aaron mentioned, and first to market is really, again, looking into IQVIA and bringing that asset into the digital advertising space with a platform like DeepIntent and a partner like DeepIntent. So it is a first of its kind application of that underlying data in the advertising space. We use it in a bunch of different areas for a lot of different reasons, but that kind of full onboarding, if you will, of that data set into Aaron's platform and DeepIntent that's super new and it is first to market.
Yeah, and we're so excited to have that on board and bringing it in, like you said, to the audiences, planning, optimization, all parts. A big theme today has been optimization and taking that data from insights to optimization to impact. So I'm curious, when we're talking about like driving outcomes, how does IQVIA look at that? Like when I say driving outcomes, what does that mean to you?
So even as we were going back and forth on this in email and so forth, Aaron, outcomes can be interpreted in 1,000 different ways, right? If I looked internal to IQVIA, there's so many different business units working on different types of outcomes. So give me just a minute and let me spin that back over to you. So okay. And we can certainly go back and forth, but in your world, what does outcomes mean to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to us, it means a few things as well, right? We're talking about generating insights. We're talking about optimization. I think primarily the thing that excites us the most is the optimization, right? And working with partners to get that data more real time. So the more real time we're able to take that data, feed it into our models, and optimize off of that on a daily basis. I mean, really the North Star there is to do it on like a hourly basis, right? Like we're always trying to narrow in to get as close to the source of truth as possible in terms of like acting on that data. And why that's so critical in the lens of like insights versus optimization for us is the optimization and the models are always working, right? They're the AQ models that Chris showed earlier in Cortex, right, that are working on your behalf. They're gonna optimize towards AQ, they're gonna optimize towards scripts, and those optimizations are working 24/7. So those go into the platform and they're helping to optimize every day, every minute. And then we're also excited to bring in the IQVIA data to help with insights, right? So it's like the dual function of the insights then show up in the form of data that we now put into Cortex and we put into our outcomes reports that give the traders and all of the users who log into our platform the ability to go and look at it. And so they can generate insights from it, but I think the big problem is like, the optimization engine doesn't need sleep, it doesn't need coffee to wake up and get going, right? Like it is just working under the hood, so as soon as you're feeding it more data, it's taking off and running with it. And then it's also, the data's there for your analyst to go in or for anybody to go in and understand deeper, like, okay, what is working here, what campaign is taking off, and how does this all come together? So that's how we look at it in product and across the company as well. But I am curious, you mentioned IQVIA internally has other departments and areas where they're focusing on outcomes. What are some of those?
Yeah, so and I'm probably woefully the wrong person to talk about the entirety of IQVIA, right? But in our clinical trials, they're going to have a certain set of KPIs and outcomes that they're shooting for, right? In our product launch division, launching a new product, we're going to have a certain set of KPIs and outcomes. In the digital space, in kind of that where we share what we think are some of the outcomes, the end game really is just better patient health, right? I think if we were to think of the overarching goal we all have, that outcome is better patient health. Having IQVIA's data within the Deep Intent platform allows for then outcomes along the way, around that entire journey of campaign execution. What's a better outcome for the campaign? What's a better outcome for measurement, right? What's a better outcome for optimization that all lead up to that ultimate goal of better patient care and better patient outcomes?
Yeah.
That sound about right?
That sounds right. I think that echoes a lot of what we heard today as well, is driving those patient outcomes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So we've obviously, Deep Intent IQVIA, as you mentioned, for going back for years. I'm curious, what do you value about the partnership? Why do we get to do these first-to-market experiences? What is it that you think makes this partnership between Deep Intent and IQVIA work really well?
So it goes back to what I mentioned before, kind of the role, and then I think I have one of the best jobs in the world, right? As I get to do what I just mentioned before, I get to look into IQVIA at some of the tremendous data assets, software assets, people assets, right, that we have at IQVIA, and bring those into the industry that I love so much, which is digital advertising. So we do that on the regular, right? We look for unique opportunities like that with Deep Intent. And then we can continue, within IQVIA Digital, we can innovate all we want, right? And we continue to innovate. We create new products and services. But innovation through partnership, kind of outside of our walls, is also where we like to be, right? And we like to, there's another acronym, we make them up every morning, right? CIA, where can we collaborate, integrate, and automate, is part of what we think looks really good in this business. To your point, we could do a lot of manual things, but where can we enable machines to do a lot of the work? We fill the fire, if you will. We fuel the fire, but where can we work in an integrated and automated fashion that allows the machines that you all are building to kind of create that workflow, create that function?
Yeah, precisely. And it's allowing us to do that, and obviously in like in a transparent way with data governance and security. I mean, there's just so many teams that both of us, right, have to work with and work through in order to enable all these amazing things to happen. And I think our ability to have good two-way transparency and visibility into like, okay, here's how IQVIA's onboarding this and securing it and applying it to optimizations allows us to move quicker. I mean, what do you think about that?
This wasn't easy. So getting us to this point right now, you know, anytime you think big and you swing at something big, it often comes with a lengthy timeline. It comes with lots of hurdles along the way, right? So as a privacy-forward organization that IQVIA is, as well as Deep Intent, right? There's a lot of rigor that goes into this process. There's a lot of, you use the word transparency, right? There's a lot of transparency that needs to happen, meaning here's the data and here's what we have and here's how we can educate you on it, but then how are you gonna use the data? And how are you gonna use it in a privacy-safe way to create your products and services, right? And how are we gonna validate that using third parties? How are we gonna paper this, right? So again, we have this great legacy of working with pharmaceutical organizations. We know that work, but this is different, right? How do we then look internal to IQVIA and say, we know you know legal, contracts, et cetera. You've done all this great work in pharma. This is a DSP, right? So that education around what is Deep Intent? What is Deep Intent doing with that data? Why does it matter, right? What is this going to be doing with respect to better advertising? So it is a journey. It takes a lot of different teams. And then I love that word. We've kicked it around a bunch. That transparency, right? It just has to be super transparent the whole time, so that we're moving in the same direction, and you don't get to an end point and find out you missed something.
Yeah, and I think it allows us to both work quicker, right? Like there's no blind spots. We're always trying to communicate and bring these teams together, of which there's a lot, as you mentioned, you know, and bringing everybody along and keeping it transparent. That allows us to bring these new and innovative things to market.
Yeah, and to your point, and I'm so happy, like. Again, I really love coming to these events because I'm reminded that I'm not all alone. Like when I heard the first panel, like the ground is always shifting underneath us, right? It's chaos, the business we're in. Every single day is brand new. It's absolutely the truth. What I think about when I connect that to the work that we've done as well, a lot of these big things that you put down as goals are 6-month, 12-month, 18-month, or 24-month goals. You can't, you know, and I'll steal something from any of my engineering friends in here, right? This notion of sprints, right? You can set up those goals that are going to happen over the long time, but then you need to operate in sprints in a very agile way, right? And make sure that your sprint accomplishes what it needs to accomplish. Set the next sprint, set the next sprint, set the next sprint. So we're trying to help through that world of chaos so that when we do come out with a solution, and we've come out with a solution now, when we do come out with that solution, it's actually applicable for the time.
Yeah.
And it sets us up for a foundation for the future, because the Lord knows what tomorrow will bring,
yeah,
as everybody has agreed upon, right? Lord knows what tomorrow brings, and we want to have set a foundation, a working relationship, a process, a transparent process that allows us to say, okay, the game has changed a bit or is going to change again. We think we can get ahead. We've already got this wonderful foundation. How do we approach that new change together?
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the acronym, right? Like integrated and automated, and now that we're there, right? And we can now work in sprints, right? And keep iterating and keep working together, keep looking at new data sets that come online and bring those into the platform even quicker. So I couldn't be happier with, you know, how this has gone and all the exciting things that we're now bringing into the platform with IQVIA optimization. It's amazing.